Coming from The Hollywood Reporter, DC's Jim Lee on the company's future, quote, "We are still in the business of publishing comics." You can tell because he's leaning on Batman. Quote, "There is no pencils down notice," says the exec who weighs in on this week's major layoffs at DC, Digital Comics, Interim Editor-in-Chiefs, and a new Batman book from John Ridley. All right, let's get into the article. Before we do, subscribe to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. It's a huge help to me when you do that. Also, you can check out collegeofthedead.com. That'll get you to College of the Dead Graduation Day. It's the current book in our ongoing Zombie Apocalypse series. That's the second one. You can also get the first one if you like. And The Mermaids. It's at epicmermaids.com. Sign up for the email list. We will send you an email when it gets launched. It's like Game of Thrones with mermaids. It's really well done. It's 48 pages, full color, ongoing series. Back to the article. Jim Lee, the superstar artist from the 1990s who rose through the executive ranks of DC to reach the top rungs of the company, has had better weeks. Monday, Warner Media enacted deep and painful company-wide layoffs. DC, the home of heroes such as Batman and Wonder Woman and Superman, saw the Scythe cut 20% of its staff. Well, they say 20%, some say a third. With many senior editors go and a reorganization implemented that sent shockwaves through not just the company, but the comic and DC fan community. This week has been a really heavy, difficult time, not just for me, but for the entire organization, Lee tells The Hollywood Reporter via Zoom call. "We've said goodbye to people who have been huge contributors and who've helped define and make DC what it is today. As soon as the layoffs news hit Monday, the rumors began in earnest. AT&T, which acquired Time Warner in 2018 to form Warner Media for $109 billion, wants out of the comic business. Other rumors suggest that DC will no longer put out comics and that Lee would be demoted from his role as publisher and chief creative officer. Interesting. THR brought these rumors and more to Lee, who outlined what he could with a reorganization that will take the next 2 or 3 months to play out. And while the team is putting on the finishing touches of Fandome, Warner Media's blockbuster fan event set for August 22nd. Quote, "We're still in the business of publishing comics," Lee adds, saying that there's no work being halted. All right. Yes, there will be more Batman. John Ridley, who won an Oscar for penning 12 Years a Slave, is writing a Batman miniseries. Oh, they would never dare cancel his series because he's a Hollywood guy. Quote, "It will have a huge impact on the rest of the line," Lee says. Okay, that's interesting. I wonder what that's going to be. And there will also be a return of Milestone, a label that features underrepresented heroes and creators. Oh, maybe Michael Davis could be brought back. Would be nice. Lee takes on the fate of DC Universe, changes to the publishing line, and the seismic shift the company made amid major health events to break from Diamond comic distributors. So, quote, "Is Diamond still publishing comics?" That's their question. Absolutely, 100%. It's still the cornerstone of everything that we do. The need for storytelling, updating the mythology is vital to what we do. The organization leans on us to share and establish meaningful elements of the content that they need to use and incorporate for all their adaptions. When they think about reaching global audiences and we see comics as helping drive that awareness, okay, and the international brand, it's very much part of our future, okay. That said, we will be reducing the size of the slate, but it's about looking at everything and looking at the bottom 20%, 25% of the line that wasn't breaking even or was losing money. Well, what do you mean wasn't breaking even or was losing? That would be the same thing. It's about more punch for the pound, so to speak, and increasing the margins of the books that we are doing. Increasing the margins of the books. So that's cutting overhead, probably cutting pay to talent that they bring onto new books. Just guessing myself, but that's how you increase the profit margins. You cut overhead and you would cut what you're paying talent in the future. It was about aligning the books to the franchise brand content we've developed, okay, and making sure that every book we put out for a reason. Interesting. So publishing a book and trying to tell a story is not enough of a reason anymore. It's got to support the overall franchises, which is a smart alignment, like so that they can be going into other media, which is why they're supposedly publishing comics still. You now have two interim editors-in-chiefs, Mary Javins, who headed digital strategy, and Michelle Wells, who headed the young adult imprint. How's that going to work? Well, we thought it would be a great pairing to bring them together to help draft and organize the content we're doing along these lines. Across digital, across global, we want to make sure we have diversity and inclusivity, okay, and making it in a way that we have authenticity to the storytelling that we're doing. Okay, much more diversity and inclusivity. It's really about consolidating all our efforts and having every editor's involved in all these directives, and also organizing, broadly speaking, in content that is for kids 6 to 11 and then 12 to 45. It's about consolidating format and oversight to a smaller, more concentrated editorial group. Do you still have a publisher? Do you still have the title of publisher? Yes. Does your job change at all? Good follow-up question. I have more responsibilities and more expectations than ever before. They want them to perform. In conversations with Warner Media's CEO, Jason Kilar, and Warner Brothers CEO, Ann Sarnoff, and my boss, Warner Brothers Global Brands Experiences President, Pam Lifford, they have some very ambitious goals for DC, and I'm excited to be part of that. In that respect, there is more on our plate than ever before. I will continue to be involved as intimately as with publishing as I have from the get-go. Nothing has changed there. And that's the focus on the creative content, the content strategy, how many books we should be publishing, the formats. But they finally have someone they're going to hold accountable to say, hey, this isn't making money, so fix it. We are bringing in a general manager to the organization. My role, the way it was envisioned 10 years ago, is that I would always have a partner that would focus on the operational side. Okay. The general manager we're bringing in has a wealth of marketing experience, global partnership experience, general business development experience. That person will start in September, and we've heard September 18th. Well, it makes sense because Jim can talk comics and he can understand the comics across multiple age groups and what inherently makes something Batman, even if it's for a 6-year-old, versus what would inherently make something for Batman for a more mature audience. And that's fine. And you need someone who could do that. A general manager would come in and basically beat up Jim Lee on profits and margins and formats and things like that. And basically have accountability, day-to-day business accountability, and say, okay, we got to run this thing like a business and make sure it's working. Do the layoffs or reorganization mean that planned comics are still happening? Are the comics that would have been announced at Fandom still happening? There is no pencils down notice. Everyone has been notified to keep working on all the projects that we've already greenlit and started. To that extent, there is no change. Okay. DC in the spring broke away from Diamond as its distributor and signed with 2 new companies. Some people said at the time it would be a mistake. How has it fared? Okay, here we go. Not only has it exceeded our initial expectations, but the size and strength of the business is that same level or higher than pre the big health event. There was a lot of fear-mongering. Oh, fear-mongering. I think that was pretty fair criticism, Jim Lee. Come on now. Out there about another Heroes World type of debacle that occurred 2 decades ago. There is nothing further from the truth. Things have transitioned very smoothly. That's not to say there are kinks that need to be worked out. UCS and Lunar, those are the names of the other 2 distributors that the retail mail order companies set up. They've done an amazing job transitioning all the content we produce and putting it into new pipelines and getting it to retailers. And we've gotten some tremendous numbers on some of recent books. We're back to press on the Joker War storyline that has been running in Batman, multiple printings on that. In fact, every issue since its launch has gone up in numbers, and you know how hard that is. Usually when you launch, you start big and the numbers go down. But here, it's climbing issue to issue. We got our numbers for 3 Jokers, and the first issue sold over 300,000 copies. And that's an $8 book. Well, hopefully it works for the retail stores. That's a gigantic number for having new distribution. Sure, 2.4 million retail. This wasn't talking about our distribution business and placing it in the hands of 2 entities. It was about what can we do together to do things that were never contemplated before, things that we would love to do to grow the physical market. All right, it's not going to happen. There's really no way to grow the physical market. One rumor I heard this week is that DC is going to sell only trades and original graphic novels and make a deal with Marvel for them to publish DC Comics. They're not going to have Marvel publish DC Comics. There's nothing further from the truth in that. I don't know where you even connect those dots. Why would we ever do that? What about the rumor that AT&T hates comics and wants to get out of the comic business? I don't think they want us to stop publishing comics. Comics serve a lot of different purposes, and one of them is a great way to incubate ideas and create the next great franchises. We want to continue that. Why would you stop doing that? Why would you want to stop creating great content that could be used across the greater enterprise? Well, I mean, the idea is that if they're not making money, if they take time and attention, if you could be doing something else with your management resources, then you would move away from doing that. As far as getting Marvel to publish them, there's no way Marvel is going to publish DC's comics. They're not interested in that. They publish their own comics. What is going to happen to DC Universe? The original content that is going on at DCU is migrating to HBO Max. Truthfully, that's the best platform for that content. The amount of content you get, not just DC, but generally from Warner Media, is huge, and the best value proposition, if I'm allowed to use that marketing term, you are allowed. We feel that's the best place for that. In regards to the community, see, what's going to happen is this general manager that's coming into DC, I guarantee you, has a prior relationship with Jason Kilar, the CEO of Warner Media, and they're going to evaluate Jim Lee, and they're going to see what they can use him for, and he's going to have to be really, really useful and save time for the general manager. If he does that, the general manager will tell Jason Kilar, yeah, he's good, keep him. If not, he's out. In regards to the community and experience that DCU created, all the backlist content, something like 20,000 to 25,000 different titles, and the way it's connected with fans 24/7, there's always going to be a need for that. So we're excited to transform it, and we'll have more news on that and what it'll look like. It's definitely not going away. All right, so DCU is migrating to HBO Max. Interesting. All right, what is the future of DC Direct? When we started, we were one of the first companies, if not the first, to go out and create a business that catered to that specialty market. That success has brought us a lot of competitors and a lot of companies that are now in that space. So it's about evolving the model. We want to produce those collectibles and serve those fans, but we will probably shift to a higher price point collectible and more of a licensing model, working with manufacturers we already work with. From a consumer point of view, there will not be a change or drop off in the quality of the work they're seeing behind the scenes. How we create it and how we get it to them is going to change. We still have our principal lead of DC Direct, Jim Fletcher, with the company. All right, that's good. He will be showcased in a fun panel with J. Scott Campbell at Fandom. Where do you see DC in 2 years? Good questions. You'll definitely see more international content. You're going to see more digital content. When you talk about growing our business, both physical and digital, to me the opportunities are global. That's what we'll be focusing on. Sometimes that takes the form of content that we take here and translate to and sell in other marketplaces, but we want to partner with creatives in various territories and unlock stories that feel authentic to their marketplaces, with characters that they can embrace as their own, and look for opportunities to take those characters and see them throughout our mythology, okay? With digital, that's more of a windowing issue, meaning we'll go out there with digital content, and the stuff that performs well in digital also performs well in print. A good example of that is Injustice, the digital comics that tied into the video game. When that came out, it was the best-selling digital comic of the year. It outsold Batman. It brought a lot of adjacent fans into our business. When we took that content and reprinted it in physical form, we sold hundreds of thousands of units. It was a big hit. It was big of a hit in physical as it was in digital. We're using that as a model as we go and do more digital content. We'll take the most successful books and repackage them as physical books. I think there's definitely a business to be had in physical periodicals. But that said, I think there's a greater upside in digital because we can go to a lot more global audiences, and the barrier to entry, especially where the health event, is lower. It's a lot easier to get digital content into the hands of consumers that want to read stories rather than physical. We want to lean into that. Lean into that. That's very Jason Kilar talk. All of his bosses talk that way. We want to lean into that and think thoughtfully what digital content should be, what it should look like, and the format. Well, very interesting. That's what they're going to be doing. Put in the comments below, is that what you expected DC would be doing? Do you believe Jim Lee? Do you think Jim Lee knows what's going on and they're going to keep him? What do you think? Do you think things will change when the general manager comes in? Subscribe to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Again, support me at collegeofthedead.com. Get a copy of College of the Dead Graduation Day. It ships immediately. And also check out epicmermaids.com. Get on the email list for the mermaids. A 48-page full-color series coming. It's really like Game of Thrones with mermaids. It's coming out soon, but get on that email list. I will see you again soon with another video, and if I don't see you, I will miss you.